I've showed you this map before. This is land that the federal government owns. Now, Mike Lee, and there's been a lot of speaking about, especially areas like Utah and in the West. A lot of this land is not used for any purpose. It's just desolate and held. Well, what about taking some of that land, selling it to the Americans for the American dream, selling it to businesses to start entrepreneurship and capitalism? Why do we allow the federal government to hold our lands and then tax us on the rest of the land that we supposedly own? Well, today we're going to be talking about that and what Mike Lee just said, and a few more proponents of selling the land, how it could actually benefit Americans. And then we're going to talk about Seattle, Washington. We're also going to talk about certain businesses like Generac. The war on Christianity is still happening. And there's two stories that prove what I'm saying. Do not put your guard down, no matter what leadership we have. The conservative Christians are always going to be targeted. We're going to discuss that in the persecution among Christians. And then, can we believe our eyes, our ears? Can we believe it? There's a new story that shows that AI and deepfakes could literally be taking over to a point where we can't even tell what truth or lies are. We can't tell if we've been manipulated by fake videos of Putin or Trump. We can't even tell if we've had fake videos of Biden. We can't tell anything. There's a new story that shows that you may not be able to believe what you see and hear unless it's right in front of you. In a digitized world, is that really important or not? It's the utmost important. We'll dive into all these stories and a few more because there's some big ones. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, we humbly ask, of course, if you like our content, please give us a thumbs up. And if you are new and you like it, stick around, subscribe, ring the bell, and that way you know what's coming on each and every day. We video and we film and we produce content each and every day. So please come back, because hopefully the things that we talk about is not about just telling you problems. It's not about just telling you what the news is. It's not about that. It's about, as a prepper, as a sustainable living person, as someone who wants to do better, who wants to have an independence and freedom. And as a prepper and as a homesteader, as someone who's a conservative Christian, what should we be doing? Let's talk about Seattle first. Let's talk about Generac. There's a new report that shows that there was a Christian event going on in Seattle. I actually got 2 or 3 emails about this, as well as reading the story myself. We were going to touch it. We were like, you know what? We'll see what else happens and see how it revolves around here. It's not the fact that Antifa members destroyed the event or tried to infiltrate a Christian event. That's one thing. But listen to what the city said. Listen to what the state said. Because this tells you the dangers of being a Christian in a world especially encapsulated by liberalism. Breaking: violent mobs of Antifa militants tried to crash a Christian concert in Seattle. The Democrat mayor of Seattle said, extreme right-wing rally. The mayor seemingly condemned the Christian instead of the militants. He actually pushed against the fact that these people are Christians trying to worship their God. Instead, almost really didn't condemn either side of it, and didn't really condone the fact of the Christians being able to have their worship. What he was basically saying is, look, Antifa's not wrong. They're just trying to have the freedom of their rights to say this right-wing conspiracy trash needs to go. Now, they're talking about Christianity here, folks. You don't believe that that persecution is coming more rapidly, especially in these cities? It's happening. When the mayor won't even condemn what the Antifa members did, he literally stuck up for them and said, look, they're just representing their freedom too. Those extreme right-wingers over there worshiping their God. This is another report that's actually with someone on the ground. He said Antifa attacked a Christian prayer meeting and the Seattle government blamed Christians because they were doing it near an LB alphabet neighborhood. And he said instead of trying to promote Christianity in this neighborhood, they should be getting away and doing it somewhere else. And they were doing this on free grounds, public grounds. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is not because of the crazy militants, not because of the activists. I'm actually bringing it up because the government did not stand with the freedom-minded Christian movement. They pushed against the Christians and actually condemned the Christians for being in that location on public streets, public parts. and this is not just Seattle. I want you to listen to the story about a guy from Generac, the company Generac. Christian man was fired because of religious beliefs. It says Generac, which is up to its eyeballs in DEI, fires an employee whose Christian belief prohibited him from using certain pronouns for another person. Now again, a company and a government, both is supposed to back freedom. Hey, I thought we were in a better time in America where things were turning back, trajectories are changing back. No, sadly, Christians are always being persecuted no matter who's in leadership. Not saying that Republicans are not doing better at trying to tone down this rhetoric, but sadly we have liberal companies in liberal states that are still going to promote things that actually are derogatory towards our faith. So my warning is this: we have to understand that we still live in a fallen world, and we still live with finite sinners, and we're one of those sinners. The thing is though, if we are redeemed in Christians, we've got to be willing to stand up no matter what the scenario is. I applaud this guy because he stood up. I applaud the people in Seattle because they stood up. Now the sad thing is, no one's standing for them. Now that almost is very futuristic and biblical, because it literally says that in our Bible, that we will have a time of persecution. So let's talk for a second. When we live in these areas, and I tell people all the time to get out of California, get out of Washington, get all these places out, and they're like, no, we need to fight the fight. Okay, fight the fight. But you have to understand, if you're fighting those fights, you've got to be willing to stand tall. Because what we don't want is weakness shown in the Christian movement, all because you chose to stay there and quote unquote fight, and actually you just bend the knee. You know what needs to happen in Seattle? This same group needs to have literally Christian worship all throughout Seattle. And that way it exposes more of this mayor and the city trying to stop Christian worship. You know what this guy from Generac needs to do? He needs to keep spreading the story. I shared the story. I hope other people share the story, because this guy literally got fired for literally saying, the guy's a dude, I'm going to say sir. The lady's a ma'am, I'm going to say ma'am. It's sad. It's so sad that we're even having this conversation. Like it's actually not even news anymore. It's actually almost satire that we say this guy. I'm going to tell you an example, and I might get this video is definitely getting held now. My kids are homeschooled. We went to, if you remember, we went to Orlando last year, and we were in a line with my kids, and one of my daughters, this guy who was checking us out and kind of going through the lines and checking our tickets, basically. I mean, definitely a guy, no doubt. Was wearing a female attire, but I mean, he wasn't even faking. His name was like Steve. And one of my girls was like, what is he, it's not Halloween, Dad. She wasn't trying to joke. She was being real. It blew her mind that this is actually happening, because it's that foolish that we're even allowing this conversation to happen. It's that foolish that Generac is firing this guy. It's that foolish that this mayor won't stand up for true freedom rights for Christians. So now my plea is this: if we're going to live in these areas, we have to be staunch in our conservatism and staunch in our Christianity. We don't have that in Washington. Look at our political class of Republicans, but most of them are shady. They're not representing us by any means. So now it comes down to, if we don't have responsible parties really truly representing us, we have to represent ourselves. And what that means is we have to hold ourselves to the utmost of importance to be strong men, be strong women, and be strong Christians. Now that's hard in a fallen world. That's hard when we're not perfect, but we've got to try our hardest, because if we don't, we're going to see persecution happen when we have conservatism. What's going to happen when all of a sudden we have a liberal back in office? It's going to even be worse. Be aware that these things are happening. Seattle, Generac, that's major cities, major businesses. Make sure you remember that next time. Make sure you think about who you support when it comes to businesses. Look into their past and see actually what they represent. Do they represent you or not? Same with these cities. If you're in these cities, either you stand strong and stand firm and realize you're going to be the Daniel in Babylon, or either you're going to have to get out and find a new place of peace, because it's no longer there. Now, I'll get off my soapbox, but that's just what I wanted to bring up. Now, this one, the land, you remember I've shown you this map several times. All that red is land that is held by the government. I want to go back to what was said. Mike Lee says most western federal lands is not national parks, but barren scrub lands and desert that has low present value. Meanwhile, birth rates are plummeting in western states because single-family homes are in short supply. It's costing an arm and a leg to buy a home and to have children in some of these western states. The same western states that do not have homes. The same western states that are in short supply. The same western states where people cannot afford to buy land because there's not a lot to buy. While the government is sitting there. And look, let's go back to that. Do you realize Nevada, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, of course Utah, Idaho, look at that. Look at that redness. Now there's red all over, and trust me, I live over here. I'm sick of government owning any land. But look at that. Was the West really won? Did the cowboys really go to the West for the government to overtake the land? Man, that just blows my mind. It says, why don't we learn to pass a house act to actually benefit the people living in this area? Give them credits, or let's look at building or helping companies go in there and start building spec homes. Let's find ways to make this land habitable. If Saudi Arabia, Israel, and several other countries, think of Abu Dhabi, think of the United Arab Emirates, they're building these massive, beautiful cities in desert wastelands. If they can do that, I think we can do it in Utah, Idaho, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of California. Think how much it would be if we could build 20 million more homes. Think how much the housing market would go down so people could actually have the American dream again. Another guy said this, he said, I've been talking about this for decades. Why are we not using this land to actually build more affordable homes and build cities to help spread out population? This was a simple fix. America could actually come into a ton of money on top of that, because then they could sell for a good price, but still sell the lands that they shouldn't be holding to people, to businesses, to entrepreneurs, to actually allow for people to have the American public dream, to have the American dream of owning a piece of property. That is a huge, huge thing. Now, let's kind of spin that. Not only could America make money and help out Americans, because again, we're paying taxes for really not a lot of benefits. We benefit everybody else in the world, but not actually Americans. And again, you're not trying to sell this to big companies that are from China. You're trying to sell this to Americans. I want you to listen to what this guy said. He said, if the federal land was sold, it would not be gone. It would remain in Americans' possession. But its value for many greater families and businesses would be a bigger blessing than the government just honing land to not do anything with it. The most future-oriented use of federal land is to allow development in spaces that need the highest, especially neighborhoods, single-family homes, that would be ideal to raising children. That, of course, supports long-run economic growth, and in the economy, that's what we're needing. We're wanting more infrastructure. We're wanting more people to own America. We're wanting more Americans to actually have families. Well, part of that would be sell the land that we have instead of letting everybody live in high-rises and rent for the rest of their life. And so that's why people are not having children. They find no value in it. You allow them to live the American dream. You always heard, have a home, buy a home, allow your wife to stay home, put this picket fence up, have a dog in the yard, have 2.5 children. You know, that's always been the American dream, to have children, to have a home, to have a family, and have a white picket fence surrounding it. Now that may not be your ideal American home. But what I'm saying is, why should the government own this much land? There's a two-part benefit. You sell the land, it allows the government to come into probably no telling how much wealth, because it's that many acreage of land. Not only that, you're selling only to America. It needs to be stipulated that it's only to American families and American businesses that are wanting to see the single family home and the family grow. So most of these states, other than California, most of these states are definitely leaning more conservative. Most of these states' birth rate is worse than what it is in the eastern coast. In areas like us, it's down by 20 and 30 and 40%. Well, it's because they don't have anywhere to live. They don't have anywhere to go. They don't have any land to buy. They can't afford them. Well, if all of a sudden you added millions more homes in this area, think of the difference, the economic growth, the chance of children that helps. Of course, Social Security and Medicare and spending and taxes overall. Why in the world would we not see this land sold? Why in the world would we not embrace Americans having the American dream right here? You need more people to live in these areas? Great. Let's allow this land to be sold to farms, to families, to condos, to entrepreneurs, to build these beautiful living facilities like we've seen all over some of the most gravest, worst economies, some of the most gravest deserts like in the Middle East. Learn from it and realize we could actually benefit millions of Americans by doing this. And last story, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up with this. It says, deep fake voices are getting more convincing. Scammers are now mimicking US officials with AI to gain the trust and access of your data and money. You don't have to be a public figure to be targeted. If you watch any YouTube video, or you watch, or if you're on Spotify, there's a commercial that's been playing, and really it's a fake commercial. It's a guy sitting in front of a burgundy curtain, and what it's trying to do is emulate Joe Rogan. Well, the guy is selling something, but in the background you can hear, quote unquote, Joe Rogan talking to him. Now, it's not Joe Rogan, but his voice is deep faked into that video. Like he's selling something for it and promoting some kind of business. Now that's so minuscule. That's just to sell product. What if all of a sudden it's worries about your spouse, worries about your children? What if all of a sudden you get a call of ransom about your family member? What if all of a sudden it's a fake kidnap? What if all of a sudden it's your president and the threats of nuclear war? What if all of a sudden it's Putin and you see this deep fake? Not only do you see the AI that's now very realistic, but you hear the voice, you're like, oh my gosh, this is real. Are we seeing signs of war? Are we seeing escalation? This new audio and this new video capabilities with AI generation, they said is so manipulative to where at this point now you might not can even understand, you may not can even trust your own eye or your own ear. In a time where we live in a digital world, in a time where we have families that are very vulnerable, in a time that, man, life is tough, especially when it comes to Middle East conflicts and the Russia-Ukraine situation. It's like Trump. We've had tons of impersonators, and it's a joke, it's a spoof. You can tell they're impersonators like Alec Baldwin or whatever. But what if all of a sudden you see a video of him and you hear his voice? And you're like, no, this is not spoof anymore. This is serious. He's threatening so-and-so. He's threatening this person. He's going to nuke this person. You see how dangerous that could be? You see how dangerous that could be for any president, for anyone of power, any celebrity. You see how blackmail can be used? We've been talking about AI and the blackmail and the manipulation that they've been using over the last few days. What if all of a sudden we really saw the dangers of that because the evil really played into it? And things like the worry of someone kidnapping your phone, someone kidnapping your family member, and you wire this money to this person through crypto exchanges because you heard that and you think that they're going to be taken, and they've been kidnapped, and all of a sudden it's just a spoof. We think that's not happening. It's happening more and more. When we live in a digital world, sometimes it gives ease of access to bad players too. Be careful. Be very, very careful. There's been times that I've seen videos of, Trump with Zelensky, and it's meant to be a spoof. It says in there it's a meme or spoof. But the realistic versions of it is unbelievable. Have you seen those ones where, you got like Putin and Trump high-fiving, or you got Zelensky and Putin high-fiving, and all it is just AI generation. If all of a sudden you add more capabilities of that, you add the fact that you can hear them speak to each other, and all you're seeing it, you're hearing it, your mind's playing tricks on you, you're saying, well, that's actually happening. In all truth, it's not. There's new warnings from crypto exchanges, there's new warnings from AI, there's new warnings from our governments, there's new warnings showing you cannot trust your eyes and your ears anymore. If someone is not dead in front of you, it may be one of those cases where you are being played. Be very wary of that. It happens to influencers all the time, where they spoof voices like Joe Rogan, where it's not Joe Rogan, but it sure does sound like him. So actually, you've seen some people, some influencers, sue some of these companies. You're saying, look, you're using my voice. You can't do that because I'm not selling that product. And all the while they're saying, no, it's not your voice. It's not your voice at all. It's one to make it seem like it's your voice. And it may be just a little different, but to our ears, it sounds the same way. It sounds like Trump. It sounds like Rogan. It sounds like Putin. It sounds like Zelensky. It sounds like whoever. Be very careful. We live in a time where I don't know anymore if we can trust our eyes or our ears. And sadly, to a point when we live so digital, do we actually believe anything is true anymore? It's crazy what time we live in. A time of persecution against Christians. The time of not even being able to see or hear and actually trust what I'm seeing and hearing. It's unbelievable. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's stories. I know it wasn't a lot of stories, but I wanted to mention these three because I think they're the most important. If we want to build up our families, we have all this land that government could sell. Not only would it benefit our government and our taxpayers, because then there would be tons of income coming in, it would benefit Americans to buy land and start building their families back. We need people having children again. If you want Social Security and Medicare to make it, if you want America to thrive, we have to have children. And we're not. That is going to cause the demise of America if we don't watch it. So that's a twofold answer right there. And then again, even though we're living in what we call a better time for Christians and freedom and a Republican leadership, we have cities and states and we have businesses that are still persecuting Christianity. It's time to stand up, be firm in our beliefs, and live for God. And remember, don't just trust anything you hear or see anymore, because it all could be fake. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.